Hey, welcome back to another episode of Menopause Moguls Navigating Midlife-ish. Whew. So today I am talking about parenting parents. Parenting parents is hard AF. Okay? I'm gonna say that again. Parenting parents is hard AF. And I literally just came back from a doctor's appointment with my mom. So went to her appointment, dropped the kids off, and then met her at her appointment. And then now I'm like, okay, I got to go back home so I can record this episode to talk about parenting parents. And I just want to share that I didn't know. I didn't know. When you're aging yourself and, your life is your life and your parents are aging also and things are just, life is just flowing. But when things start to get crazy when it comes to their health and you're trying to now support them in that journey, I didn't know. You know, People talk about being caregivers and I've heard people say that it's not easy. And I empathize with that, right? But I really did not know how much it can be and how heavy it can be. And I think it's hard because there's so much that you're trying to navigate with now, your parents and their personalities and their ways of processing things. And then now your life, it's hard in the sense that you're doing all these things and you don't want to get lost in the process. And I think that's so easy to happen if you don't watch it, if you don't really check in with yourself. So that's what I want to talk about in regards to, again, like parenting parents is hard. But obviously it's doable, right? We all do it, right? We all do it. And I just want to kind of give some insight into how you can make it just a little bit, I guess, tolerable. I don't know if I can definitely, I don't know if I can say like make it easy, easier maybe. But just, look at it in a different perspective. So, I think first, when we're parenting parents, we have to deal with, and those of you who are caregivers, shout out to all of you, and God bless you, because I get it, right? Like I said, it's just so much, and just thinking about, taking care of my parents and then my in-laws. They all have their own personalities, right? And they are set in their ways, right? And they have their own beliefs and thoughts and feelings that you don't even know about. So I've learned a lot about my parents through this journey and also my in-laws. So just learning about them has been very interesting. When it comes to, what they are believing and what they're thinking when it comes to their health and their own bodies, and then the way they show up when they go to their doctor's appointments. So I just continue to learn about them, which has been quite interesting. And also just throughout this whole journey, knowing that they don't tell you nothing. I feel like, especially as a doctor daughter, right? They would tell me stuff and they don't be telling me stuff. And I'm like, things that be going on with them health wise. And I find out, days, weeks later, like, I'm like, why didn't you tell me? Like, why didn't you tell me? And the interesting thing, my father told me one time when I said that, he was like, Jael, I still look at you as little Jael. Like, I still look at you as that little girl. And it's hard for me to tell you stuff. And I'm like, okay, I had to respect that, right? So like, okay. So I had to learn that it is difficult for them to share different things when it comes to their bodies and to their health, because they still, even though your girl is about to be 50, they still look at me as little Joyelle. And it's hard for them to tell little Joyelle different things. And I take that as also just growing up and the way we communicated about certain things. Some things weren't communicated, right? Because of the way they were raised and how they grew up. So now, they're in the situation in regards to their health and communicating and interacting with their own children. They're just doing the things that they, have been the thing. That's what they know, right? That's what they've been taught or they've been conditioned to do. So them not sharing different things with me when it comes to, like I said, their health and things like that, it's difficult for them because they still look at me as that little girl. Like, well, I ain't gonna tell her my business, that little child. She don't need to know all of that, right? And a lot of things, stuff I do need to know. So I can then now either guide you to the next step or also tell you to reach out to your doctor about certain things. So I want you all, those of you who are caregiving and parenting your parents, to keep that in mind. They may not be sharing things with you as much as you would like them to. So you may have to probe just a little bit more for them to actually, give the information you need to have in order to help them make the appropriate decisions moving forward when it comes to their health journey. So keep that in mind. And then another thing that I have learned as my father is, navigating this journey with treating his cancer and actually just seeing doctors in general. I told you in the last episode, he has never been to a doctor in his adult life, like on a regular basis, right? He would maybe go to an ER here and there, but he was healthy as a horse. So he's never been to like doctors because he says he doesn't like doctors. I'm like, dude, okay, I understand you don't like doctors, but you still need to go to make sure that things are in order when it comes to your health. So anyway, there was a story that, happened in his childhood that he had a negative experience in a hospital, which now is, guiding his thoughts and beliefs around doctors in general. So when I learned of this story, I'm like, okay, so part of this is him now having to parent his inner child as he's navigating this health journey, right? Like now there's still, as old as we get, y'all, like we still have this inner child in us, right? There's still that little girl, that little boy that has been through something. And if we don't acknowledge those things, whether it's trauma or negative experiences or whatever, and nurture that, it will just continue to carry on, and we can still be triggered by certain things and we avoid certain things because of those experiences. So I have now helped my father kind of parent his inner child as he's navigating through this whole healthcare system, him not wanting to ever go to doctors, and now he has to go to many doctors and create an actual healthcare team as he's now fighting his diagnosis. So helping him acknowledge that little boy that, had that experience, but now, now nurture those thoughts and those feelings, and creating new thoughts and feelings and beliefs when it comes to doctors and medicine and the healthcare system in general. So recognizing that as we are parenting parents, we're potentially also need to help them parent their inner child as they're going through health scares or diagnoses, and taking care of themselves as they are aging. I think the other interesting thing has also been, him as he continues to go on this health healing journey, and he's had a lot of his own, self-reflections on his own childhood and things he's gone through throughout his life. And, him always being the person who gives, taking care of this person, take care of that person. Him now being in this vulnerable state has been difficult for him, right? Because he has always been the giver. And I've also learned that that's where I've gotten it from, right? Like, I kind of knew, but I've learned more about myself through him also talking about him recognizing that now he has to allow people to help him, because it has been hard for him to accept the help, because he's usually the one that is the person who is helping, right? He is the giver. He is the helper. He is the one who's always giving the help. And now that he now has to sit back and allow someone to help him, it has been a process for him. And I now also know why it's hard for me to accept help. And through this journey with him, I have also continued to learn to accept help from myself. So that has also been very interesting. And I think the other thing that has made this season, this caregiving season, and this journey difficult, is watching your parents become a different person. I have always seen my father as Superman. Like, there is no, like, I didn't even know there was ever kryptonite that will just bring this man down. Like, he has always been, in my eyes, Superman. And I've said that I'm a daddy's girl, so I'm like, this dude is the truth. Like, he say it like it is, and he is no nonsense. And now having to watch him become vulnerable, and sometimes emotional throughout this healing journey has been, it was difficult. I can say it was difficult in the beginning. And now that we have gotten to where we are now, it's been a good thing, right? Him learning to be vulnerable, and me also learning him in this season of his life, being a different person, right? Being someone who is now vulnerable, who needs to be able to ask for help and accept the help. And they're also, watching themselves, me now realizing too that they're also watching themselves become different, right? They're also processing that. So we're all processing the same thing, right? But they're in their own, they're the person who actually is going through this diagnosis, and them needed to now process not only the diagnosis, but also now this person that they are actually becoming. It's a process, and it's something that they have to allow themselves to feel all the feelings and, speak all the thoughts that they're having so they can feel supported. And for example, my father, like I said, he is, always been this big, strong guy. Physically, like, he would exercise consistently. Like, he was, like, he has no gut. Like, he is always on it. So when he started with this diagnosis, he, backed off of all exercise and really was honestly afraid to exercise because he didn't want to mess nothing up, and just his own thoughts about he didn't want it to be an issue moving forward in regards to his treatment. But I would tell him, like, movement is medicine. So you definitely still need to move. You need to exercise. So when he then started to feel comfortable going back to exercise, this man talking about, oh, I'm going, I was doing 60 bicep curls. I'm like, 60 bicep curls? And I was doing like 70 squats. I'm like, nah, dude, I didn't say do all of that. But that's what I used to do, JL. I mean, that's what I used to do. I'm like, I get that, but we're in a different season right now. And not to say that you may not be able to go back to that, but we have to start off a little bit differently this time. So now to, needing to learn to exercise differently. Like, we can't just go straight back up into doing 60 bicep curls and 70 squats and push-ups and all these things that he was doing before. And I get it, right? And I've totally done basically had the same very similar experience when I went through my whole long COVID journey, and not being able to exercise and getting back to exercise. We really have to take things a little bit slower. So him learning to do that, and accepting that he's not necessarily the man that he used to be, right? Now he has to learn the new man that he is right now as he's going through his healing process, and just this, this journey in general. So being able to support him through all that has definitely been something that has been, like I said, difficult for me. Like I said, seeing him as this Superman now to, he's still who he is, but definitely has been much softer, and just allowing himself to be more vulnerable through the process, which I think has definitely been helpful to him. And for me, just to watch that has been definitely helpful for me, just, as a person who's also continued to navigate my own body as I continue to go through different changes with still perimenopausal, navigate through those changes. Being able, just like I said, just being more accepting of where I am now, and working with that. And that's what I've, tried to talk to my father about, and, really coach him in regards to that. Like, work with, where you are now, instead of, wanting to be back, of who you used to be and what you used to do. Let's work with what we have now. And like I said, potentially work your way back up to what you were doing before. But really being okay with where you are now and just doing the things that you can do right now, and just taking those small steps has been, like I said, it's been helpful to, be able to help him do that. But definitely, like I said, just watching your parent in, becoming a different person has been interesting. It's something that we, definitely have to process ourselves. And I think also just when, when you talk about cancer in general, cancer is always a scary thing to, talk about and deal with. And as my father was, contemplating his mortality, as children, taking care of them, we also are contemplating our own mortality and figuring out our own lives. All right, look, what else do I need to be doing so that I can continue to live my best self moving forward. But with caregiving and parenting parents, it's difficult, and it is physically and emotionally, mentally draining. So how do we cope, right? Like how do we cope through all this? And I think number one for me has been to communicate, right? Really having open and honest conversations about, you know, giving space for them to have open, honest conversations with you, you being open and honest with them, like, you know, you really need to be doing this. And not in a way that is, you know, they're still your parents, right? And they still like, look, I'm still your mama and your daddy. Like, you can't be talking to me like you crazy. Even though sometimes they can be like children, like, listen. But really giving them the space to, you know, be able to have an open and honest conversation with you, and you also doing the same with them, and, you know, letting them know like, hey, this is, you know, this wasn't the best way to approach this, but moving forward, let's do it this way, or let's do it that way, or let's talk to the doctor about this and things like that. Asking questions, like I say, a little bit more probing that we need to do with these parents who don't like to share, which, like I said, I get. They still looking at you as little Joelle, or little whoever you are. So it's hard for them to communicate those things. So just asking them a little bit more of probing questions, and just, you know, trying to make it as comfortable as possible for them, right? And I think the other thing, just for us as caregivers, being able to communicate what your needs are, right? I am, you know, y'all know I got 3 children, and I got cheer practices, I got baseball practices, I got a husband too, who is, you know, doing all the things that he's doing. So I've learned to communicate what I need. Like, okay, when I take my father for his appointments, like, it is an all day affair. I have to drive an hour to take him to where he needs to go, and drive an hour back. And like I said, we're there all day mostly, and then get back home. I'm tired. Like, and my husband I have the best husband in the world, by the way. Just saying. But he, you know, helps out to, you know, take care of the kids, take to their practices on that day. If the appointment happens to end up on the day of practice, they, you know, pick up the kids from aftercare, take them to practice if they need to. So definitely him recognizing that, you know, it's an all day affair, then I'm tired, but also I have been very intentional about communicating, like, you know, okay, this is what my day's looking like. Can you please pick up the children, do this or do that, or whatever that thing is, pick up dinner, all the things. So being comfortable communicating with that. And I have to say that is growth for me, y'all, because, you know, the old Joelle would be trying to do all the things. And that, again, I think that's how a lot of us can get lost in the whole, you know, squeeze between taking care of children, taking care of parents. We are trying to do all the things, and we are not communicating what we need, you know, in the process. So me being able to communicate like, okay, I'm tired, or I'm going to be tired. Can you do this? Can you do that? Has been definitely helpful, for allowing me to be able to manage and navigate, this whole parenting parents journey. So that has been helpful. But I also been communicating with my siblings, because y'all know I have a lot of siblings. I'm like, listen, daddy has his appointments on this day, that day, who can take him this, who can take him that day, who can take, so I also have that, I would say, blessing to have a lot of siblings who can also take some days where they take him into his appointments and those things like that. But I know I have friends who are also caregivers for their parents, who have siblings who don't help. They communicate that they need help, but they are not getting the help that they need. So I recognize that can also be an issue, or a struggle, when we have that, or when we're in that situation. And these friends, you know, they're doctors, right? So a lot of times when, you know, it's like, oh, well, you're a doctor, you should be able to, you know, you should be able to have it. Like, yeah, we got it, but we still need support. And I think it's different when it's your parent. It's just a different level of stress and just emotional heaviness. So, so I think the second thing is if you don't have siblings who are not supportive or, friends that you can reach out to also help you, I think just getting support from somewhere would be helpful as you manage and navigate through parenting your parents. And that support can be therapy. Again, me being intentional about like when I felt myself in spirals of oh my god, what if my father does not, what if he doesn't find the treatment that he needs? What if he passes away? Like what am I going to do? What are we going to do? What is going to happen to the family? Like I had all of these things. I had a lot of what ifs that I was navigating, and I really could not be present. I was living either in the future of what if the most negative, the most worst, the worst thing that can happen is that he doesn't make it through this, or I was living in the past of, um, you know, what he used to be and what he means to me and what I used to be able to do and all these things, and not really being present and being present with even my children, with my husband, just be present. So me spiraling like that and having the honest conversation with myself to say like, girl, you need therapy. You need to talk to somebody. And yes, I talk to my husband, right? So my husband is also navigating taking care of his parents. We're both navigating taking care of both of our parents, right? So we also he definitely has been supportive with each other, supporting each other through this journey, and talking to him. But I also recognize that I need more support, which is why I made the decision to seek therapy. So definitely doing that. And there are also, outside of therapy, there are support groups. I also had a friend who recommended a support group actually for Black women who are caregivers. I think it's called the Binti Circle, BINTI Circle on Instagram. She directed me to that page for also support. So there are support groups out there, but you definitely need some support. There's the other support that I've sought throughout this journey has been supportive girlfriends. Like I said, I have a bunch of sisters. I got a sister chat, and we definitely express feelings and thoughts and things in there. And they've definitely been supportive. But having a good support system and girlfriends have definitely helped me through this journey thus far. So I've definitely been intentional about creating time to hang out with girlfriends, because I found that, I needed that outlet also. And being able to, schedule a brunch or go out to lunch or just hang out at the house, drinking a glass of wine has been a game changer. Because I have friends, right? But I just been so, I was engulfed obviously in helping my father, helping my in-laws, going to appointments, whether it's in person or on the phone, and kids with their practices and their school activities, like all the things. And I was watching myself potentially getting lost in all of that, right? So I really wanted to have another outlet, create another outlet with girlfriends to just talk about life, talk about what I'm going through, what I'm feeling, and all the things. And I think that definitely has helped me cope and manage parenting parents. so parenting parents can be emotionally and physically draining for the child, right? It can lead to more stress. It can lead to burnout, and even relationships, difficulties throughout the process. And the third thing would be to help manage through all this is self care, right? Prioritizing ourselves so that we can prevent the burnout, so that we can prevent us actually losing ourselves throughout this whole journey, because it can certainly take a lot out of us. And it can be hard to maintain. So self care has been huge as I have continued to process through this journey and navigate all of this. And I want to talk about on the next episode, filling your jug of joy as part of or the mainstay of your self-care. So I want to talk about on the next episode because I see my time has been, I don't want to keep y'all too long. So let's talk about that on the next episode, y'all. So I hope that has been helpful. And again, like I said, shout out to caregivers. I see you, I feel you in these midlife streets. But remember that you are not alone. There is a way to navigate all of this without losing yourself. And I want to, like I said, continue to share my journey as I, continue to learn more about parenting my parents, learning more about them, and really also learning more about myself. So that's all I have for you all today. There's something that resonated with you. Let me know whether it is in the comments on YouTube or in a review. Please leave a review so more people can listen to this podcast. Also share this episode if it spoke to you or, did something. As always, love and light to y'all, and I'll talk to y'all next time. All right, y'all, take care. Bye.